This is our first episode of this, but we're going to be talking about Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the animated series that
on Netflix.
On Netflix now,
and other things.
On other things, I guess. I suppose DVD or whatever, Blu-ray, whatever you're into.
Right.
whatever your dirty dogs are into.
Ow.
So I just spent the last couple of weeks crushing through the Star Wars Clone Wars, and I have a lot to say. George, you kind of watched a couple
I've seen
episodes.
like 2 episodes. I can't deal.
Okay, so I've been a huge Star Wars fan my entire life, and I had this idea in my head about what, I grew up before the prequels were released and loving Star Wars, and I always had this idea of like who Darth Vader was before and this and that, and then when the prequels came out, I was like, what? That's not what? I didn't what? But whatever. I dealt with it. I grew up. I learned. I accepted it. When the Clone Wars came out, it was like a whole other wave of this feeling because I never watched it as it came out, but I heard all this shit about it, and one of the things that I kind of hated right off the bat was the fact that Darth Vader, or Anakin Skywalker at the time, had his own apprentice, Ahsoka, which was this chick that they introduced for this show. And I just thought, what? How could he have had his own apprentice? Wasn't he an apprentice that went wrong? So I went into this show feeling like I was going to hate that right off the bat. I watched the movie first, Star Wars Clone Wars movie, which was an animated movie that was basically compiled of like a couple of episodes jammed together. Apparently, George Lucas saw a couple of like episodes and testing and was like, let's turn it into a movie. Jam them together. And
Great idea.
Great idea. It confirmed my beliefs. I was like, I hate this. This is terrible. This is childish. This is stupid. And I spent a good amount of the first episodes in season 1 feeling that way. But I have to admit, after watching a lot of it, Ahsoka grew on me. The show grew on me. The storylines grew on me, and by the time season 6 ended, which for those of you that don't know, it got canceled by Disney once they bought Star Wars, so it never got to actually finish. I was left wanting more, and I was sitting there on the couch like emotionally invested in this story and wanting more, legitimately upset that it got canceled.
Were you more invested in the storyline or these characters?
Both. There's a lot of episodes that were stupid, filler, bullshit, but whatever. There was a lot of episodes that were really good too. And overall, I thought the show improved greatly over time, especially like season 3 onwards started just getting like better and better and better and really adding to the Star Wars universe. And they had some episodes that were like, what's the point? You taking a picture of me? What's going on here? There were some episodes that were like, just about like R2-D2, let's say, and a bunch of other droids. You are taking a picture of me, you son of a bitch.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And it's stupid. Or a bunch of episodes about just Jar Jar Binks doing this. Stupid. But in between those episodes were story arcs that were great, and some things like how Darth Maul survived in these episodes.
Yeah, they say he's not actually dead.
See, that was the thing that I was like, that's so stupid. He got chopped in half. He's clearly dead. You're just bringing him back for fan service, and yeah, they did do that.
He's an awesome Sith or
those
enemy.
Episodes with him in it are so good.
Yeah.
That whole storyline with him is amazing. And he doesn't even die by the end of Clone Wars. So I want to know what happens to him. And they are bringing him back for Star Wars Rebels now, which is the new show.
Which is a good idea.
Yeah, so we are going to get to see what happened to him. But so I just quickly, I loved it. I mean, one of the things is in the prequels, Anakin was such a whiny bitch the whole time, and it was so hard to picture him becoming Darth Vader. But in the Clone Wars, he was Vader. Like I saw it. He was a military leader,
Right.
likable, hard, strong. A lot of the quotes that he said in Clone Wars were like the same or similar quotes that as he said as Darth Vader. And I just thought, it did so much for smoothing out the transition between the trilogies.
This Clone Wars with Anakin, it's before he meets Princess. It's
No, it's so this whole series takes place in between episodes 2 and 3.
okay.
So that's like a 3-year period, I think.
Okay, so
and
he
the
already
series
knows.
takes place
He already
in between.
knows.
Yeah, they're already married.
They're already married.
They're already married during the season because they get married at the end of episode 2.
Okay, right.
And they're married throughout this, and they pull a lot of episodes that play out their romance too, and they fill it out and they show their struggles. It's really good, man. I honestly went into it with the worst expectations, but just in with the big Star Wars hype going on, I was like, I should check this out because they consider that canon. Disney scrapped almost everything, but they kept Clone Wars as canon, and I felt like I should know it. If this is canon, I want to know it.
Right.
And I honestly, I recommend it, but I do realize that it is a struggle to get through.
I mean, I've only seen 3 of the episodes, and it seemed like a show for children.
Yeah, there's some.
Not like I can't deal with that.
The tone is kind of back and forth. Like, there's some episodes that I'm like, wow, I'm like a grown man watching a kid show right now. What's wrong with me? And then there's some episodes where I'm like, this is really fucking good. It goes back and forth. It's kind of all over the place, but yeah, I think it's overall worth it for the really good episodes in there.
Okay.
I
I mean,
recommend it to anyone that's a fan.
I may need to pick this up again and kind of like deal with the children part of it and the.
Yeah, you kind of got. I'll admit I did kind of skip through a couple episodes. Like if I saw it was like an episode where it's just R2-D2 and a couple of droids like going on like a mission and it's just slapstick humor the whole time, I was like, I don't need to see this,
I got to deal with the youth part of this show, and maybe really get to the good part, and then I'm sure we're gonna record again one time.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be reversed, and I'm gonna be like, I need more of this show.
You do.
Love it.
Speaking of that, I just kind of want to cap this all off with I never really watched too much of Star Wars Rebels, which to me is, I think, even more childish than the Clone Wars was. But I did happen to catch the newest episode that just came out, and it had so many ties to the Clone Wars series, so it was like the perfect episode for me to watch.
So if you get invested in the Clone Wars,
they continue on some of those storylines in Rebels,
and then
which takes place like 30 years later or something. Maybe not 30 years, like 20 years later or something. So it is interesting because you can see the characters that you liked in the Clone Wars, and now they're grown up. For instance,
in the Rebel,
Ahsoka, who is Anakin's apprentice, she's now a grown woman in the Star Wars Rebels, and in the most recent episode, she kind of figures out that her old master became Darth Vader. So it's kind of cool to see these things, and it brings everything together. I'm actually really looking forward to it. I might start watching Rebels now.
So what we're saying is Clone Wars, the 6 seasons.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up from Chris.
On Netflix.
It's on Netflix now, so check it out.
Who knows where else? It looks like I need to start watching it. If usually I go by if you like something, I like it.
Yeah,
and we usually have the same mind in that way.
I do definitely want to put the disclaimer that it was difficult for myself to get through at points, but once I got going and once I got invested in it, I was really hooked, and I was watching it every night. And I'm kind of upset that I can't watch it anymore. I'm upset that it's over. But moving on to Daredevil now.
Binging through 6 seasons.
Binge through 6. All right, well, that's it. If you like this video, subscribe below. Hit that thumbs up button. I'm Chris Jokas. You can find me on Instagram at Chris Jokas. That's GEOCOS.
I'm George Pecoraro. You could find me on Instagram at PeckGeorge and Twitter at Georgie Peck. and I hope you enjoyed.